Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Tomorrow is July 4th, America's Independence Day. Here in the States, it's an incredibly important holiday with a very important history that is taught to Americans from a very young age. We learn in schools about how brave colonists volunteered and rose up against our oppressive vampire overlords who were attempting to turn the New World into an open-air prison for blood bags so that they could satiate their never-ending lust for human blood. Even after the defeat of the vampire forces at Yorktown, who, as you can see, wore red because they like blood, because they're vampires, the battle for America's heart and soul would go on for almost 100 years until finally the Great American Civil War, where vampire hunter President Abraham Lincoln finally managed to bring the vampire-backed Confederacy to its knees. That, of course, is the story we all know and tell our kids. But there was actually a secondary reason why Americans bore arms against our oppressors. It was so important that it became a battle cry for colonists firing silver musket balls at vamp lines during the skirmishes of Lexington and Concord. Their rallying cry was no taxation without representation. It was a powerful and simple message that highlighted the disparity between the colonies and the British Crown. It's a disparity that's quite common in human history in relationships between those in power and those who are being ruled. Which means that this concept would also play a significant role in the political struggles that would plague the Star Wars galaxy. Today we'll discuss how taxation without representation began emerging in the Galactic Republic and how it ultimately led to the downfall of the Republic. It's really hard to understand the true scale of the Galactic Republic or understand the task it had set before it, especially when we live on a small planet where national unity can be hard to find, let alone planetary unity. The Star Wars galaxy is roughly the same size as the Milky Way galaxy. It's said that at its height, the Galactic Republic had over 1.3 million member worlds, and that's not including settled asteroids, moons, and space stations. The Republic was founded around 25,000 BBY in the ruins of the Great Rakatan Infinite Empire. The Rakatans had enslaved most of the center of the galaxy and had seeded their worlds with different species from their conquest. They would disappear within a generation from a mysterious plague that cut their species off from the Force. Their former slaves and servants would begin to reverse engineer all of the Rakatan technology and begin reconnecting the ancient pathways that connected the core planets. These core planets would be the founding states of the Republic. You might recognize their names. You have worlds like Alderaan, Chandrila, and of course, Coruscant. In those early days, things were quite simple and stable. The Republic only consisted of a few worlds, and most of those worlds were dominated by humans. Cordoned off by gravitational anomalies and the center of the galaxy to the galactic southwest, the Republic would slowly expand outwards, north and east, out of the deep core. At first, the core worlds would use sleeper ships or generation ships that slowly crossed massive distances at sublight speeds. But eventually, humans and Duros re-engineered the Rakatan hyperdrive, which led to the formation of the first major hyperspace lanes and trade routes. Within a few generations, the Perlemian trade route was established, connecting Coruscant to the world of Ossus in the galactic northeast quadrant. It was in these two regions, in the center and the northeast of the galaxy, that the two largest clumps of civilization would form in those early days of the Galactic Republic. Before we continue today's episode, a word from our sponsor, Untitled.com. For the month of July, they're going to be giving away several lightsabers to lucky fans in 3 separate competitions. In order to enter these competitions, follow Ownersaber.com on Instagram, and then on July 5th, July 12th, and July 19th, they will post a link to a Google form link on their Instagram that will be active for 24 hours. Enter your details into this link and you will be entered to win one of these lightsabers. On every date, 2 winners will be chosen and gifted a lightsaber. The result of the contest will be posted 2 days after the Instagram post. Again, these dates are July 5th, July 12th, and July 19th, basically the first 3 Tuesdays of this month. Also, Ownersaber.com will be giving you guys 30% off of their Xenopixel Premium lightsaber line, like this Obi-Wan Kenobi replica. It is beautiful and featured packed. If you guys want more information about the giveaway and also Ownersaber.com, please check the description down below for more information. Thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. If you take a close look at the galactic map, outside of the northeast quadrant, it seems like everything is oriented from the center and then outwards. If you look even closer, you can see the many spurts of growth and expansion the Republic went through, like age rings on a tree. For instance, you have the area labeled the Deep Core, and then the Core, and then the Colonies region. A colony is generally thought of as a remote outpost. Yet the Colonies regions in the Galactic Republic lies closer to the core than the next ring, which is called the Inner Rim. That simply means at one point in time there was no Inner Rim, and that the colonies were the frontier areas of the galaxy. And although they might have started out as colonies, planets like Fondor or Commoner were anything but colonies later on in the Galactic Republic's history. By 24,000 BBY, most of the colonies' planets had already been settled. As a matter of fact, by the late Republic era, the colonies' regions became increasingly difficult to live in because it was just so crowded and expensive that you saw mass migration towards the Outer Rim. And in between the Outer Rim and the colonies, you had the Inner Rim, Expansion Region, and Mid-Rim. The Mid-Rim is another quite misleading name for this part of space. It's actually in the peripherals of the Galactic Republic, and most of the worlds here were as politically and geographically isolated as the Outer Rim territories. Now, the reason why this happens is relatively simple. It really comes down to the economic model of the Galactic Republic. This was a market economy-oriented society with a capitalist growth engine. Such systems depend on continuous growth in population, markets, and spending in order to maintain stability and high quality of life. As the cost of living began to increase in the Inner Rim planets, a lot of labor-intensive industries began moving more towards the sparsely populated and unregulated Outer Rim areas. This was the trend throughout galactic history and the growth engine that would keep the Republic away from stagnation and death. Now, there are some obvious problems with non-stop continuous growth, but the alternative, which would be the Sith Empire, was actually a lot worse. The old Sith Empire believed that autocracy, planned economies, and militarism could lead a galaxy towards stability. But there's a reason why their empire was snuffed out multiple times and limited to the far corners of the galaxy. Their system just was nowhere near as efficient as what the Republic had. At its very core, the Galactic Republic was a mercantile society, and it really lacked a large standing military for most of its history. What it did have was control over the major economic centers, the major raw resource production sites, and transportation infrastructure in the galaxy. If war did erupt, they could rapidly turn their economic might into a military powerhouse. And so the Republic rarely needed to use military force to take over more planets. Instead, it had control over the entire economic infrastructure of the galaxy. And so most territories and planets desperately sought Republic world membership because of the benefits it could bring them. There's a dark side to everything. Nothing in the galaxy is purely good or purely evil. The Republic's greatest strength was also one of its greatest weaknesses. Continuous growth worked until you basically ran out of room. In those early days when the Republic was still new and confined within the core regions of the galaxy, it welcomed every planet with a large enough population into the Galactic Senate. While the Republic featured 3 independent branches of government, you had the judiciary and you also had the executive, but it was really the Senate that held the true power within the galaxy. For most of the Galactic Republic's history, the Chancellor was not a very powerful executive position, especially during the post-Ruusan Reformation period. It wasn't really until Palpatine that position would become much more powerful and all-encompassing. And so joining the Senate had true benefits and allowed represented worlds to shape galactic policy to benefit themselves, especially when it came to trade policy and defense issues. The problem was that the Galactic Republic had over 1 million member states, yet there were only a few thousand seats within the Senate itself. Now, most of the core world planets and the founding members of the Galactic Republic had direct representation. This means 1 senator for 1 planet. That was usually chosen by the people. But eventually, as more worlds began to join, the amount of space in the Senate and the amount of power the core worlds were willing to share became a huge topic of discussion. The waiting period for planets who wanted to join the Galactic Republic started to grow longer and longer until it lasted for centuries, if not more. At the same time, new member worlds were often placed into sectors that could have up to 50 inhabited systems in them. These sectors would then have to share a representative. For instance, a lot of people think of Padme Amidala as the senator from Naboo. but she was officially the senator from the Chamel sector, which had 36 full member worlds and over 40,000 settled dependencies. Padme Amidala had to somehow juggle all of the different needs of her constituencies, and then again, she was just one of 1,000 different representatives. And so the reality was the last worlds to join the Republic not only had to wait a ridiculously long time for membership, they most likely would not get direct representation anyway, and would have to share a senator at the sector level. To make matters even worse, towards the end of the Republic era, corporations like the Trade Federation were granted direct representation because of how much power and influence they wielded across the galaxy. Most of these newly joined worlds were in the Mid-Rim or the Outer Rim territories, and despite paying taxes just like every other member world, these planets were mostly neglected because they lacked adequate representation within the Senate or strategic value. And to add insult to injury, there was no official Republic military force that could guarantee the safety of these regions. And as we all know, the Outer Rim was an incredibly dangerous place. This is one of the main reasons why the Separatist crisis started in the first place. And so when Count Dooku arrived with his separatist agenda, he found a natural audience in these Outer Rim worlds where frustration was mounting over the unbalanced deal their planets had signed with the Galactic Republic. So as you can see, taxation without representation is one of the underlying causes of the Clone Wars and the end of a 25,000-year-old republic. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. And as usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.